Yeah, I mean, for me, it really doesn't matter who you're working with or where you are. You're always going to be able to learn something from, the best mechanic or the best team on the planet, or they could be, an average guy, or they don't want to do the extra stuff. Ask the right questions, ask the wrong questions, right? Just ask questions, be a
Sure.
sponge. All right. That's what I tell my students. It doesn't really matter what you're doing, who you're with. If you don't understand, ask. If somebody is spending the extra time to actually teach you, pay attention, write notes. Because if I'm doing door work for 3, 4 days, I'm hoping that you by day 3 or day 4 are going to be able to one to jump in there and actually take over for me. I
Right.
always like to say, as a mechanic now, I'm probably the best apprentice you would ever have. Right? Like I love being able to have somebody else do the work and me, for one, showing them what we did, two, having
Right.
them go in there and do that, and then say, hey, I don't even need you. Go do another task right now. I got this under control.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. When talent is mission critical, call the Allred Group. With industry expertise, top talent, and exceptional customer service, you need the Allred Group on your side. Your priority is their priority. Call now, 404-890-0445. In today's episode, we sit down with Andrew Glauser, a veteran elevator mechanic, adjuster, NEIEP instructor, QEI, and foreman who has been keeping people moving safely for over 2 decades. From working on the new Buffalo Bills Stadium to training the next generation of technicians, Andrew brings a wealth of knowledge and passion to our conversation. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you giving me an invitation.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's good to talk to you and meet you in person. I know we've talked a few times over the years, and always tried to drag you out of your hometown, but I think you're pretty happy there in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it right now. Actually, the Foreman running the new Buffalo Bills Stadium going on here.
Nice.
Almost 40 pieces of equipment. Been going for about a year now, and we got about another 18 months to go. So I will be going nowhere anytime soon.
Awesome. That sounds like a fun project. I mean, that's one you can enjoy with your family. You can point out as you pass it, and just know that, hey, that's something that I got to put my stamp on.
Yeah, I think everybody. I mean, I can remember probably the first elevator I worked on, over 20 years ago, and still driving by it and being proud of a little 4-stop hydro. And now I'm working on, the biggest project ever in our area. So it is pretty cool.
It is. That's awesome. And your kids probably get sick of hearing it, right? Oh yeah, whatever, Dad. Right?
Yeah, they like it. Their school is actually right across the street. So
Nice.
The best part about it is when we have, Monday or Thursday night games, they get a half a day school. So they benefit just as much as us.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
So how did you get involved with the elevator industry from the get-go?
Yeah, so we had a family friend who got in the 90s, worked for Otis long time. He was a mechanical engineer, went to school for it, and had a family member offer him a job. He'd been doing it for about 10, 15 years. Tried getting my older brother into it. I was home on spring break from college, and they said, hey, you want to go take a test? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'm taking tests all the time at school. I might as well.
Sure.
And was the first recruitment for New York State back in 2003 and 2004, when the labor department made the local unions go out and recruit outside of the way they did it before, which was family, word of mouth, and all that. And went through that process. Started in March of that year, 2004, and got a call in December on my winter break, home in between semesters. Started December 20th and never looked back. 21
Never
years.
looked back. You never thought about, man, I wish I'd have stayed in college and
Well,
taken more
I'll tell you a
tests.
story. I did go back to college. I went to community college at night while I was going to
Nice.
classes with NEIEP, and I finished my degree back in 2010. So
Awesome. Good for you.
I do have my degree in construction management.
Good for you.
Hoping to use it one day, whether it's in the elevator industry or not, but I do have it there in my hat.
Oh, that's nice. Is that what you were studying then? Was construction management when
I
you took
did,
the
yeah. I
test?
started with construction management and then worked on a major. I was working on a major in architecture, and it just got to be too much. So I did a minor in architecture, and I have a BS in construction management.
Nice, nice. So started in the industry, and you say you never looked back. What was it that kind of clicked for you, and you were like, man, this is good. This is where I need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was probably lucky. I worked at an independent where
Mhm.
you really got to do a little bit of everything. So it was a small family-owned company, about 20 employees, 25 employees. They did a lot of state work, university stuff, a lot of specification work. So you knew what the client, the customer had bought. So you could go back and read through it, and they had new buttons, new cabs,
Sure.
and we did it from. It wasn't just a piecemealed modernization. These were literally tearing jacks out from the beginning,
Oh, wow.
getting dirty, replacing machines, and I think it was the start at the independent because we did everything. It wasn't just new construction or escalator work. We actually got to touch a little bit of everything. We maintained all the manufacturer's equipment. And honestly, I had a really good group of mentors that
Right.
were around me who were never afraid to show me, how they did it. Or even if you make a mistake, you can still learn something from that mistake. And
For
that was
sure.
kind of their train of thoughts. And I'm grateful.
If you're not learning, that's the problem, right? You
Yeah,
can make a
yeah. You're
mistake,
not
but
asking questions, and you're not spending a little bit of time outside of work, even when you're not getting paid for it. This business is humbling every day still, 20
Mhm.
some years in. And as a student coming out of college, I think I was a little bit more eager, wanted to learn more.
Sure.
Um, but I had a really good group of core guys around me that really helped me learn and allowed me to learn and make those mistakes that made me, I think, a better apprentice and a better mechanic.
Yeah, yeah. So even then, it was about the group of people. It was about the culture, the camaraderie. Is that really what?
Yeah, I mean, there's only, I'd say, probably 30,000 to 35,000 active elevator constructors, mechanics across, the US right now.
Yep.
It's a small knit group, but I would guarantee you most people in our area, at least, know an elevator guy somehow, whether they know him
Cool.
from the golf course or they know him from school or a family friend or, so yeah, I mean, to be in the upper echelon of construction, which I think everybody says, about the elevator trade. All the other trades say the same. How'd you get in? Who did you know? This and that. And I'm like, well, you have the same opportunities we have. And
For
when
sure.
we recruit, look in the newspaper, look at Department of Labor, talk to everybody. And that's the important part is you don't have to know somebody to get in. You just need to know where to find the opportunity.
For sure. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I think it can be a matter of who you know or being at the right place at the right time. But I'm seeing a lot of, just opportunities that seem to go, I don't know, unfilled. You and I talked a little bit about inspectors, for example, and I, in New York and Colorado, and it just seems like countrywide. It's like, where are all the inspectors? How do I fill those roles? I don't know. Maybe aliens are abducting them or something. But
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be eager to do it. I mean, when I went back to school in 2010 to finish my degree, before I did that, I didn't know if I'd be able to actually work in the business. So I went and got my inspector's license.
sure.
So
Okay.
I still carry a QEI. I've had it now for 15 years. Didn't know if I would use it then. I certainly use it, not in a day-to-day way, but I use it as, research, and guys call and ask, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Um, it's a very different trade than it was, I think, when I got in 20 some years ago.
Mhm.
It was your next step was you retired, you became an inspector,
For
and then
sure.
you inspected for 10 years, and they loved seeing the same guys they worked with every day. And I think it's a little bit different now. I think the travel is there. I also think there's some things with liability.
Yeah.
At this point, with New York State has licensing now, and there's been a couple high profile incidents and injuries where guys talk about it now, and you are now putting your name and your neck on the line every day, whether you're doing inspections or you're doing maintenance or service. I mean, I've been subpoenaed a couple times, just for calls. Somebody got hit with a door, or somebody fell in an elevator. So I think it's just the world we live in today.
Sure. So I think what I'm hearing you say is if you got your name on that little placard that's inside the cab and something happens, you could be held liable for what's going on.
Yeah. And, whether you're right or wrong, it doesn't really matter. It's the building owner that's brought in, it's the elevator company that's brought in, the inspector, the mechanic, all of it. They're just looking for somebody to have missed a step, right? And is that the way to go about things? No. But if you're in a car accident, right, they're going to do the exact same thing and bring everybody into it. So, in the old days, it was the guy I worked with yesterday was retiring, going on a vacation, and then 6 months later, you'd see him knocking, calling you and saying, "Hey, we need to go over and do a pressure test on this." At the same point, we've seen some guys who have had injuries. I had a guy on my crew who had back surgery, wasn't able to come back in the field. He went and got his inspector's license, and he's loving it now. He still can be out, be around the guys, and he's not away from the trade. So there's opportunities. Some guys like, hitting the office and going to become a superintendent once they get out of the field, or if time gets slow. That's what it was back in 2009, 2008 when the downturn happened. I know New York City, a lot of our guys went and got their QEIs at the time. We didn't know how bad it was going to get.
For sure.
Right? We didn't know if we were going to work. We didn't know what we were going to do, but we all kind of had a backup plan. And at the same time, then you were getting calls. If you had a QEI, you were getting calls, monthly. Hey, are you willing to go here? Do you want to travel? So there's a lot of opportunity out there if you're really willing to listen and, and take it.
Sure. Well, and one of the things I see too is once you get in, kind of learn the space, learn the trade, you can really go a lot of different directions. And I love to interview people who maybe they, invent a new product and then they kind of pursue that path, or they come up with a new service, or they want to own their own contracting company and they go start a company. It seems to be that the time and experience and knowledge you gain within the elevator industry becomes very empowering to, give you a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, we have right now a superintendent that I used to work with, is kind of doing his own turnkey general contracting on the elevator side only, right? Because it's such a niche. So you go into an older building, they don't have HVAC in the room, they need to add a shunt trip, they got all this. He was around it for 8-9 years, knows the ins and outs. He's working with an electrician and some sprinkler folks, and he's kind of got his own little market on what he wants to do. And there's, money to be made. You're working with the same small group of people. You know what the expectation is, and you know what the outcome is, honestly. So, yeah, I mean, once you get into it, you see how specialized it really is. And you kind of hang around the same people and work around the same people, weekly, monthly, and yearly. You'll run into a guy you worked with 3 years ago on another project, and there he is in a different position at a different company doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, it definitely seems to get in people's blood, right? They seem to just love it. And I've heard some people say they get addicted to it. They just, love what they do and want to keep doing it. One of the things I see, I mentioned seemingly a shortage of inspectors, but there's a lot of growth in residential elevators, for example. And I have a lot of people reach out, and it's like they can't find anybody on the planet, or at least enough people, to keep up with the growth, right? They can sell those residential elevators all day long, and there's all kinds of growth, but when it comes to installing it, servicing it, repairs, they really seem to struggle in that department. I'm curious, what do you think can be done to get the word out there and let up and comers know that, hey, this is a pretty amazing industry that will give you a lot of opportunity? Yeah,
I mean, and going back to where I started at an independent, right? I mean, we would maintain home elevators, we would maintain stair lifts, handicap lifts, a lot of that stuff. Most of all because we didn't carry the overhead of some of the majors, right? So they didn't have the profit margin in a lot of it. So I was lucky enough to work on some of that. You go into a doctor's home in the back and the elevator shut
Yeah.
down. He wants to know why. At the same point, like we have a couple local small, home lift elevators, and it's such a niche market where you almost see them hooking up with certain architects and engineers.
Hmm.
It's kind of like going to a trade show, right? You go and you meet a new guy, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, I got this piece of equipment. Why don't you try it out? Give you a deal on a couple of them." So the biggest thing I think with some of the home lifts and the elevators is, who's following up on them, who is inspecting them, who's checking to make sure that they're safe, and doing some of that. And I think it's really just education. The local AHJs or the local towns don't really have a process for one to install it, two to pull a permit, and then three to inspect it and keep up. A lot of people don't realize that they follow very similar maintenance and testing schedules and inspection schedules that they do a normal elevator. I shouldn't say normal elevator, but a commercial elevator. You know what I mean? And it's a little different too, right? On a modernization, you could be on a job for 6 weeks. On a home lift, you could be on it for a day and a half.
Yeah.
Right. So, they're a little bit different. The equipment's out there. Now with the changes in code, right? Going into now 2019 code, 2022 coming out, you're starting to see them kind of, I don't want to say crack down, but actually draw some of these other smaller units and components into the code, which now you'll see, a little bit higher cost, some other stuff that needs to be done, some of the software stuff that, you need to keep track of. So I'm curious to see where it goes to here in the next, 5 to 10 years. Does it simmer down a little bit, or do you see it starting to explode a little bit and, more Lulas going in if you want to be under that 1,500 pound capacity, or are you going to go to some 2,000 pound elevators because of speed or height? So I think it'll be interesting to see where the market really goes.
For sure. Well, you talked about how several, states kind of do their own thing. Certain jurisdictions do their own thing, and some seem pretty aggressive adopting the newest code. Some don't have any code that they've adopted, or at least that they kind of enforce. And certain states, it's like, okay, you got an elevator. Congratulations.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, like we talk about, what a close knit group elevator guys are. Like I'm an instructor with NEIEP, so we go to trainings and we talk to guys from California to Hawaii to Louisiana to Florida. Not one of us draw the same experience,
For sure.
right? The way it gets installed, the way the equipment comes, who's testing it, who's inspecting it, and that's where it goes back to the pride of it. To drive by that first job that I put in, 20 some years ago, hoping the job that I'm doing today, it should be better, right? Because I've had off of my experiences. But at the same point, it's a safe, and I would put anybody in my family or loved ones in that elevator to make sure that, they get up to the next floor where they have to go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, there is certainly an amount of pride, right? And just knowing that, hey, if I put my family on this, I know it needs to be safe. And I know that, I've done everything I can do to make sure it is and know that it is. So it's got to be, rewarding in that way that you get to see the Andrew.
I think knowing, like, my job as a foreman where I am today is to get my workers home safe, right? That's my number one priority. We go into work, and then when you're done, you turn an elevator over, or an escalator, whatever it is, to make sure that the riding public gets home safely and makes their way where they got to do, without incident. I just traveled. I was out of town last week with the family on vacation, and the first thing you come to is an airport with a down escalator. And it doesn't matter where you go, who you are, how long you've been in. You start looking at elevators and escalators and all the equipment, and wondering who's working on it, trying to find a mechanic. And two things: is it shut down for preventative maintenance, or is it shut down for a callback or shutdown? And if you're coming back through that exact same airport a week later, they're either doing something or they're waiting on a part, right? So it's and that goes back to the specialized stuff. Depending on what it is, you can't just go to the local construction store and pick up the component you need.
Sure. Sometimes
you might be, a couple weeks for something to come in, or you might have to pull something, get it to the machine shop, have it repaired, brought back in. So and those are other, connections you make. All the local spots you go and calling guys, in New York City that have already dealt with the same situation that you are here locally. And hey, how'd you handle it? Where'd you get your part, your piece, everything else that you need?
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. This is Matt with a brief message from our sponsor. The Allred Group has been recruiting elevator industry talent for over 14 years. If you are looking to grow your business and hire great people, contact the Allred Group at allredgroup.com. That's ALLREDGROUP.com, and talk with Matt and his team about how they can assist you. And now, back to the show. Yeah, that's interesting. I was at a NAEC conference a few years ago, and in the lobby they had these two beautiful elevators, and one of them was shut down, and all these elevator contractors are rolling in going, "What is this contract? What in the world?"
I could do better than they could, So I mean, it's one of those things where you start in it, you're just kind of a lowly apprentice. You don't really know what you're getting into. You're blindsided. And then there's something that just kind of clicks for most of the guys where it turns from a job into a career. And I would say probably for me, it was, 4 or 5 years in, up as a temporary mechanic, going through it every day and running into the people. And, I used to take care of a hospital up here in Buffalo for a little bit. And, it was my day route. I'd start. I had 20 hours a week there. I walk in and they'd hand me the keys, and I was the elevator dude in the building. Right. It's like, awesome. That's how they want to remember me. They didn't know my first name or whatever. Didn't matter to me. You'd see him in the cafeteria, you'd see him at the coffee shop, whatever else, and they knew that you were the guy that was getting them throughout the building safe. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating industry, and I think because of, obviously there's hydraulics and electronics and mechanics. There's kind of everything, right? If you're technically minded and technically savvy, I think there are probably a lot of people in the, coming up, maybe high school kids that don't know of the opportunity to really get your hands dirty and learn a trade that can be so rewarding in that way. And, my dad was an educator for 30 some odd years, and then was on the school board. And he used to say that, that essentially that college is really designed for like 20% of the population. But he's like, but we've got large groups of people that really benefit from trades. That's really what they're very gifted in that way. And so he was a big proponent of let's keep the trades out there. Let's keep, these shop classes in school. Let's keep the, like the trade colleges that, seems like they've kind of come and gone in certain areas, but
I think you're starting to see some of that come back around now, right? I mean, college with the cost of education, right? I mean, the nice thing is for us now, the outreach. I've been part of now 4 recruitments here in the Buffalo, Western New York area, and to see the people who have come through and the age ranges from guys in their 40s, 50s, girls in their 40s.
Sure.
Right. To this last list, we actually interviewed high school seniors who knew about us, who had heard about it a couple years ago. Their guidance counselors are not always pushing college anymore either. They have, what we call up here BOCES classes, which would be your construction school, welding schools, electrical spots. And I would be pretty proud to say that this last recruitment that we did in 2024 was by far the best group of candidates that I had seen in the 8 years that I've done recruitments. We got a great list. We're a small local up here. There's only 120, union elevator guys, and we have, I think, just under 65 people on our hire list right now.
Wow!
Right, so it was a great recruit. Yeah, it's a great. People come from all over the area to come and do it. People come from other trades because they hear about it. They're high school students, college students. Some guys are professionals, 10 years as an electrician.
Oh, yeah.
Want to come and do it because they know what the opportunity is. So it's gotten a little better, recently. And I think that is the outreach. I think, people are hearing about it, word of mouth. I've been to 2 colleges in the last couple of years to try to talk to their seniors about recruiting them and saying, hey, I know you might have a job here, but this is an opportunity for you. We're seeing diesel mechanics, we're seeing electricians, we're seeing auto mechanics, anybody in construction really can do it. And that's the thing, like, even though it is a niche, you can do hydraulics. You want to be an escalator guy? We'll put you as an escalator guy, right? I mean, that's the difference in where we are. And the training isn't just on the job. The nice thing is training is, whether it's school at night, right? Some of that other stuff that goes right along with it. And now that, some of like New York State has state licensing, came into effect a couple years ago. So now to get a license in New York State, whether you're union or non-union, you have to have 4 years of schooling and the other stuff to get to that point to become a journeyman.
Right.
So, everybody somehow has to go to work, do the school, and then get out of it. The nice thing is, like, we're talking about doing, have you heard of helmets to hard hats?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have a list that we keep here in our local where we have 15 helmets that are
Nice.
ready to go. And for us, we'll bring them in, we can interview them, and we can place them anywhere on the list that we want, because those guys that, we've all said it, guys that fought for the country, they kind of deserve an extra step or a little bit that they can jump the line, because not all of us were willing to do that, out of high school or however it worked. And those guys, whether they know it or not, are actually eligible to get paid through their GI Bill to go to school, right? So that's another thing. They might not know. We give them the opportunity to come, and then we also let them know, hey, this is like a college education. So while you're going to work and sitting in class, you're going to get another paycheck, right? Nice. So it's just really about letting them know what those opportunities are and allowing them to make the decisions to, come through on them.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you guys are doing a great job getting the word out. And I think that's probably what needs to be done, nationwide, whether it's residential, whether it's, New York or Florida or Texas or, union, non-union. It's just a matter of sharing that, hey, this is an awesome industry. It's got a great, long tradition. It's something that people get into and they just love. They love it. They fall in love with who they work with, and the work that they're doing is what it really seems like. The community, the camaraderie, it's all there.
Yeah, and honestly, like when COVID hit, we kind of always said, I'm always going to have a job. People need elevators, right? They need escalators. Then all of a sudden you started to see some of the, people stay home working, right? So the office building that had 2,000 people all of a sudden had 200 people. And you're like, man, am I really going to have a job forever? Like, you never really thought about it until that happened. And now, like, you're starting to see it come back. Everybody's back in the office. Sure. So you can think, like, I don't need to worry about having a job because, real estate's right there again. Everybody's back to the office. And now all the equipment that sat for those couple of years is back up and running. People didn't want to pay for maintenance, right? So now all of a sudden you're seeing opportunities for modernization, some of that other stuff that is rolling right back around. And we had a stretch here where we were doing modernization, but really just updating the electrical, right? Okay. New controllers, leaving the mechanics, right? So the machine stayed, everything in the hoistway stayed. The next wave, what you're seeing is controllers, and all the machines are going, right? They're going from DC machines, generators to AC gearless. Okay. Right? They all want to go to, we did a big project where we replaced 7 gearless old Westinghouse DC machines with brand new Schindler permanent magnet machines because the building wanted to go green, right? So they put in regenerative drives, they did all that. So that'll be the next wave too, where you're starting to see everybody go energy, friendly, so to speak, getting rid of the old stuff. And some of the boards actually want to see, hey, we're going to make this investment. What's the return for us? Right. So they see their power costs come down. They see some of the other stuff that happens. So you can move the people through the building faster. And, it's educating the people into business, the people that get into the business, but also our customers, at the same point about the importance. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like you say that with the COVID, you saw a decrease in commercial, but what I'm seeing too is there's a lot of residential 3-4 story, apartments and condos and townhomes going up, which, still need elevators. They might not be as tall as your commercial, but still got plenty of opportunities to. Yeah, and I think you're seeing a lot of that residential. And 10 years ago, it was the hotel boom, right? You had a Holiday Inn going in down the road, and then you had a Comfort Inn, and you had all these suites going up. All those have 2 or 3 elevators in them. And now, like you said, you're starting to see the 2-3 story, apartment buildings now go up, and they're all low income, And once you pop through that third story, now you got to have a hospital service car, right? So you start getting into some of that other stuff. But yeah, and it's a different generation. Like I remember buying my first house. I have guys that we work with right now that would rather rep, right? They want to live in one of those places. So you see that little, shift in the residential market going from everybody being in a home to now wanting to be in a complex or be downtown living, right? As they say.
Yeah.
And even, young professionals, whether you're in the medical office or, working in the banking industry, they don't want to come home and mow a lawn anymore. They just want to go to their apartment and then go out for dinner and do all that. Right. So that's the change, I think, kind of what you're speaking about now.
Yeah. Well, and through it all, right. The elevators are a crucial part of all of that. So
they're not going anywhere. That's why I can say, 20 some years in, I don't want to have another 20 years, but I can see the future, needing to have 20 years. And then hopefully my apprentices that I've had coming up behind me, are going to be there to fill that spot as I go off into the sunset, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So as we wrap up our time here, Andrew, what would you, I guess, advice would you give to those who are either brand new or maybe they're thinking about getting into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really doesn't matter who you're working with or where you are. You're always going to be able to learn something from, the best mechanic or the best team on the planet, or they could be, an average guy, or they don't want to do the extra stuff. Ask the right questions, ask the wrong questions, right? Just ask questions, be a sponge. Sure. Right. That's what I tell my students. It doesn't really matter what you're doing, who you're with. If you don't understand, ask. If somebody is spending the extra time to actually teach you, pay attention, write notes. Because if I'm doing door work for 3-4 days, I'm hoping that you by day 3 or day 4 are going to be able to jump in there and, actually take over for me. Right. I always like to say, as a mechanic now, I'm probably the best apprentice you would ever have. Right. Like I love being able to have somebody else do the work and me, for one, showing them what we did, 2, having them go in there and do that and then say, hey, I don't even need you. Go do another task right now. I got this under control. Right. So be aware, listen to opportunities. That's how you and I met. Right. We reached out about an opportunity and I said, you know what, at the time, I'm pretty happy where I am. Still right now, I'm pretty happy where I am. But I listen to any opportunity that comes across my desk, right? Because you never know what tomorrow holds, and now, in the elevator market where we are with, the majors and some of the stuff, you can at times feel like you're just a number, right? And you're not really valued all the time. But, I like to say, again, as a foreman, without my guys around me doing their work, if they're better or as good than I am, they make my job way easier on myself, right? So just surround yourself with the right people, ask questions, don't be shy. And most of all for me is, make sure you're getting home safe at the end of the day. Follow all your company's procedures and, the guy you're with, because who I'm working with, I have to have his back and he's got to have my back. So we both get to go home at the end of the day. That's really what it's all about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is, at the end of the day, it is high risk, right? There's great rewards, but it is high risk,
It's a very, very dangerous business, right? 100%. It's gotten better since I've gotten in. It's gotten safer. They give you right tools, everything else. There's not a question. If it comes to safety or equipment, the company's going to get it, whatever you need to do the job. And if they get it for you and you do it quicker, it's even, more beneficial to them. But safety is, for me, day to day is the most important thing. Because if we don't come in with safety on our mind at the beginning of the day, we might not make it home at the end of the day, right? We didn't get into this business for a shorter life. We got in it for a better life for us and our family.
Yeah, perfectly said. Thank you. Andrew, I appreciate you being with me today. It's been a lot of fun again.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate the invitation and hopefully, good conversation. I appreciate everything that you do and the outreach that you do and, love watching your stuff on YouTube and we'll be talking again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. Take care.
Appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. please visit our YouTube channel at Elevator Careers or check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.